everybody. Welcome to the Songwriter Sunday. My name is Nicholas Kazonis, here with Region Buzz 219. We have a very special guest tonight and a first on the show. Tonight, we're going to be doing songs that are strictly instrumental, and I'm going to be trying to keep up with the wonderful and amazing and nationally known Mr. Joseph Marcinek.
Hey, Nick. How you doing? Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, baby, yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like, you know, you grew up in the region. You know, what were some of the things you've done in the past? And, like, where's the trajectory of where you're kind of moving forward now?
Yeah, Crown Point, Indiana, local region rat, and been playing music since I graduated college, end of 2007, 2008. Started playing with the Fresh Hops guys. We toured all over. And then around 2017, started doing the Joe Marcinek. I left in 2017 to mainly do the Joe Marcinek band, but I actually started that in 2011.
I was going to say, I remember you doing it much earlier.
Yeah, so we're coming up on 10 years this year, which is pretty awesome. And what I do in the Joe Marcinek band is every weekend I have a different lineup. So we go all over the country and use different players from said city we're in, or we bring people out. And so it's really given me this blessed opportunity to play with, you know, over hundreds of musicians all over the country. And it's really a crazy life.
So are you like fulfilling some of your dreams about like playing with some of these like incredibly awesome players?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no way I could ever have imagined playing with George Porter or Melvin Seals or Bernie Well. It's just not something. Obviously, you think it would be great, but it's not something you ever think is even possible. And I was lucky to meet Bernie at the NAMM show back when I was in college in 2006. Just got to talk to him for like almost an hour, and he was just hanging out at one of the booths, and he didn't really have a crowd around him. So me and my buddy Joel were just like, let's pick his brain and just talk to him. And he was just the nicest guy and super approachable. So kind of when I started the band, I was like, I'm going to just shoot him an email and see if we can get him on a gig. And just having that mindset of cold calling and reaching out to people is really brought me a lot of these opportunities.
That's awesome. So you've obviously got to play with like some of your favorites and that sort of thing. What was like the kind of the pinnacle moment for you to say like this is what I want to do as far as playing, like, you know, with the Joe Marcinek band, playing with these different players? Like, what did that process kind of look like in the infant stages? Is like, was it a thing of I want to approach this in a with just like all different kinds of players and get their different styles and thing, or was it like, you know, I have these songs but I just want to have different people on them? Like, what was the purpose? Like, was it about the song, or was it just like a selfish thing, like I want to play with these kind of people?
No, it really, I don't want to say it was an accident, but it wasn't a conscious decision. Because when it started, Fresh Hops was playing quite a bit. So it was really, my buddy Pete Koopmans had moved back home from Berkeley, and I wanted to do some gigs with Pete. And we didn't really have a set lineup. It was me and Pete. I think Dave Van Vlymen was one of the first bass players. And then we just kind of rotated. And since I was doing the Hops thing, it was just a side project for fun. And, you know, I wasn't worried about making money. It was just trying to play with friends and have some fun. And so that idea of, you know, we called Dave, and then we called Buddy, and then Janice in Chicago. And since it was a side project, it just allowed me to experiment with it. And so after doing it for about a year, I wouldn't say the concept was there, but we'd never had a consistent lineup. So the more I kept doing it, it was like, okay, well, let's go down to Indianapolis now. Okay. And so that kind of opened up the player pool. And a lot of the people I was using were all in different bands. So I think had one of the early incarnations had a lineup that gelled and everyone could come together, it might have been, you know, way different. But because it was a side project at the time and we were using a lot of people that were busy, that's kind of how it started to roll. We started bringing people in from out of town. And then after about 2 years, it was like, okay, this is probably going to be the concept. But then when Pete moved to L.A., it really opened up because he was kind of the rock. He would always be on drums, and then the rest, the keys and the bass would kind of alternate. Gotcha. And then when he moved, it was just like, I think it kind of happened at the same time he moved, and I started traveling a lot more. So then it was, okay, if I'm down in Florida, I'm going to use a drummer down here, yeah. And now it's just, then it became the concept, like kind of just grew organically into this idea.
What are some of the for some of the viewers that are like trying to do this kind of thing for a living and moving forward from that perspective? What are some of the pros and yet the cons of being like it's the Joe Marcinek band? I know from like my experience, like I have kind of a similar thing. You know, I have like set players, but we try to like bring in a special guest here and there. What are some of the challenges and some of the benefits, would you say, about having your own band and like swiping out these different players? What would you say is kind of the...
No, definitely. So there's huge advantages and huge disadvantages. The first one is you're going to go broke. a lot of your gear is going to be in the pawn shop.
Welcome to doing your dream. Yeah.
So yeah, be prepared to pawn everything you love because it's a risk. And I'm the kind of person who, your word is your gospel. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And for better or worse, a lot of these gigs, I would guarantee my players money. A lot of people didn't show up. Now I'm out. Now maybe I could have went to them and asked them, to come down on it. But I just felt like to develop my reputation, I'm going to pay everyone no matter what, even if I have to take that loss. And so I think that built up a lot of trust with a lot of these people, especially when you start moving up into the bigger names. You can't say, hey, Bernie, I know I guaranteed you this much, but we can only give you this.
Yeah.
And so once that kind of gets out there, then you have, a reputation of, okay, at least I think the music's good. Plus you're, going to get paid and you don't have to worry about it. So you have that trust. So the advantage comes in where, as a touring band, it's very hard to get out of your home market. If you're from here in Indiana and you want to go play Cincinnati, Ohio, and you don't know anyone there, how are you going to get people to come to your show?
Yeah.
You can do trades with other bands, or you can get band members from that area to play in your band. So now you see you've got this kind of way to advertise shows in different areas. Now, especially if you're bringing in bigger names, it's going to advertise even more. So that's one of the big advantages to doing it, but it's a huge risk. And so I think it just I was in the right place in my life at the time where I could take these crazy risks, sacrifice relationships and bands and living at home for way too long. But, it's...
Yeah. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
shout out to the devs. But when you have the dream and you love something so much, you got to dedicate, your life to it. And it's tricky, but it's like I have so many stories I could tell about being on the road with all these crazy people and all these things that have happened that I'll take to my grave, and I'm not going to worry about the time I had to pawn my guitar to, pay for Bernie or whoever.
Yeah,
I have that experience.
Where you're hearing stories about people that played with like Stevie Wonder and stuff, it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like it's just incredible, Or Melvin Seals playing with like Jerry Garcia, like one of your biggest, influences and, guitar idol, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's
big
like,
time.
It's pretty cool, It's like, it's pretty interesting. And I think also, like, if you probably noticed this, like, we've both played with some, like, cool people, and it's like, you think about those stories, and it makes you realize just how much more human those people really are after you've heard the
big
stories
time.
about it. It's like, yeah, he used to only eat bagels in the morning. Like the weirdest tour story thing,
Oh yeah, everyone...
like, he would not be in the passenger seat when we were going through the mountains or something. You know what I mean? Like weird stuff like that. So I think it's pretty cool. What's one of the funniest stories you've
Well, speaking of that, we were doing a tour out to Colorado it was like around March 2 years ago, and I was playing with the George Porter Trio. And maybe 2 weeks before the run, there was like a big avalanche on the highway. And so there was like this YouTube video going around of these cars getting stuck and, crushed in this avalanche. And so we had one gig in the mountains. It was like Denver, Boulder, somewhere, and then up in the mountains. And George was like, nope, I'm not going up there. So the guys still wanted to do the gig, so I found some like local Denver players, and we drove up there, and the weather was fine, no snow on the road. It's like, go figure. But,
that's funny. So... How would you say, and we'll probably get into our first tune here, what would you say as far as playing with all these different people, how has it influenced your songwriting?
What's the word, immeasurable? Like you can't really put an idea on it.
You can't quantify it.
Yeah, there's so many influences being thrown at you, and everyone has their own style. So I've been developing this concept recently that, everyone always gets caught up in these competitions. This guy's better than this guy, and like none of that matters. Like all that matters is your expression on the instrument. No one can have that. No one's lived your life and fuse music through the way you do it.
It's 100% subjective.
Yeah, and so I kept thinking like there's this magic scale they all play and these certain notes that none of us know, and it's like no, they're just so confident in what they do. They're not holding back at all. Yeah. They know what they're good at, and they don't pretend to be anything else. And a lot of times it's that confidence that will sell you and bring you over to like, wow, this is amazing. They're not playing anything different than me or you would play. So like, what is that missing element that they have? And a lot of times it's just like unabashedly, they are them. That's who they are. They play themselves. And that's what you love about them. You don't love that he plays the, flat 13 on the 5 chord or whatever. It's like, no, it's just that swagger, that whatever it is. And so when you hang out and play with a lot of these guys, it's like, they're not coming down to your level. You got to go up there. Like, you got to hang with them. And so just swimming in that shark tank and just being around and feeling that energy, you can't help but to pick up on it. And so that's the biggest takeaway is just be you, do your thing. Obviously you want to get better on your instrument. You want to get better as a human. It's all those things rolled together. But when we play music, it's fun. Like, at the end of the day, let's remember that and not lose sight of that every night. We're getting to do this amazing thing. Let's really enjoy it for all we can. It's not a job. For
as long as we can, too.
Yeah, because, you get hurt.
Yeah.
Arthritis, things happen. You can't play anymore.
As you all can see, I've been injured for a week and a half, but today's my one of my first days back. So, but I've been playing.
Don't hurt it too hard.
Yeah, hyperbole shouldn't kill me. I think we'll be okay.
Play it as a ballad.
Yeah. So speaking of tunes, which one you want to start with?
Well, so I've got this new record coming out. Not exactly sure when this is going to drop, but May 28th, my 4th record, JM4, will be coming out. So the album will be out by the time you guys watch. And we're going to do a tune off there, yes?
Yeah, let's do it. So tell me about Yes now, Joe. Tell me about Yes. So what's the reasoning for Yes?
So let's zoom out just for a second.
Sure.
And so I knew my next record, it's my fourth album, was going to be called JMB4. Now, I didn't expect it to take on this meaning of before, the word before, JMB4, if you put it all together. Pandemic hit, COVID, our whole lives changed.
Yes, they did.
And so, a blessing and a curse about it. As musicians, we always are looking for time to just sit home and play the guitar and write music. So I had this crazy opportunity to write a whole bunch of new songs. And I probably wrote more songs in the past year than I have my whole life. So Yes was early on there. I put a little video, I think, on Facebook, and it was just guitar and piano, and pretty much the whole song had came out in one setting, and I spliced it together to look like it's me and me, playing.
Yeah.
You could probably find it on there somewhere, and so it just all came out, and a lot of people have told me that it sounds like this combination of the Grateful Dead and the Meters, which are two huge influences. Right now and going back for 10 years. So I think it's just the evolution of myself as a person, as a musician, and writing, and fusing those influences into something, hopefully something your own. So that was one of the ones earlier on that was I knew was going to be on this album. And it's crazy because originally my concept was I was going to do a different lineup for every song on the album, kind of like the live band. You expect to see different lineups, so why not do that on the album? So of course COVID happened, everything shut down, and we can't really do that. So I was super lucky. Me, Andy, and Andy Sutton, Ola Timothy got together a few times, early on in the pandemic when we were all shut down, and we would just do trios in Andy's basement and got to work most of these new songs out. So
awesome.
I definitely really appreciate those guys.
Yeah, and Ola has a new record that just came out a few months back too. So anybody that's watching, just go look up Ola Timothy, and then Andy Sutton is with Stop Drop Rewind in his main group, and I think they're just releasing like a new package, like 6-song single thing or something too.
And he's also doing the thing with Lauren Dukes. I think
Lauren
that's
Dukes,
coming out soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, two great guys. And yeah, just got to work up, a bunch of new material. And really excited about it. So then back in February of this year, we went down to Orlando and recorded at Full Sail University, and just basically got my dream lineup of musicians. Sean Martin on the keyboards from Snarky Puppy, and Kirk Franklin, Nikki Glaspie on drums, who played with Beyonce and now is with the Nth Power, and then the man Tony Hall on bass, Dumpst Funk. It's just like the funkiest rhythm section possible.
Where do you go from there? It's like I often think about that with your lineups. I'm like, oh, this is the one with Joe. This is the one, and then I look and I'm like, no, this is the one. And then I look and the next time I'm like, all right, I'm not even gonna say that anymore because it just gets better and better. And I'm gonna say it on camera. I'm just extremely proud of you. I've told you this 1,000 times, man, but I'm extremely proud of you. I know the grind and I know it's not easy, and anybody at home really should support you, that's watching.
Just support your favorite musicians. Yeah. And that's, I think, kind of how I got to where I was, I don't have a label. I don't have a publicist. I do everything myself, booking, management, social media. I run it all myself. It's a never-ending job, but it's a job I love to do, so it doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I appreciate that, man. But, just develop relationships with your fans. And I'm so lucky that during the pandemic, I had so much support from all over the country. People joining the Patreon, donating tips for live streams, bringing me out to do house parties.
And I'm just to interject for a moment, I am actually a patron of the Patreon, and it is absolutely worth it. It's a really good, a really good thing. So
thank you.
You get to see all. I've heard these tunes for like a whole year. I still can't play them well, but
you sounded great.
But I've heard these tunes for a long time. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Where what was I saying? Yeah, and so it's just about, even getting back to what we were talking about earlier, when you do go out and play, one of the most important things you can do is don't hide backstage. Go out and talk to people.
Yeah.
Because that's how you make those relationships. And then when you come back to these towns, there's going to be more people because you've went out and you've talked to people. They know your face. They know your story. And after doing it for 10 years, you're just going to develop friends and fans all over the country.
It might start with 5 people, but
It might start with one.
It just grows and grows.
That's Stefan always said back in the early Fresh Hops days. One or was it like 10 or 10,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You can't emphasize that enough. So many people think, all right, I'm just play guitar and then I'm a rock star and everything happens. And it's like that guitar is the smallest part of your job.
Literally the smallest part.
And I spent all last week doing video edits and emails and websites. And I didn't play any guitar. What am I doing? But that's part of the job.
It's a big part of it, man. It's a huge part of it. And it's just incredibly important for people to realize that, you got to get out and network. If you're in the beginning of your career for you young songwriters, you got to get out. You got to go to open mics. You got to go to jam nights. You got to meet new people. You can't just play to the same circle all the time, 100% of the time. You have to create an outlet to get out there and start meeting new people and creating that new network. Because someone in there is going to listen and like what you're doing. So
and you never know, especially when you first start. I think back 10, 12 years ago when we started with the Hops, we know people now that lived in Indy or lived around here that now live all over the country. So I'm going to Dallas next week, and I know 10 people that live down there now that are from here. And so all those little seeds that you plant are going to go all over.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to travel and play, it's a huge part of it. It's after 5 or 10 years, you never know who's going to end up where and who talks to who.
It's like when I was a kid, I remember my best friends was like, oh, we're going to all buy houses on the same block and play basketball, together until we're 80. You have these weird things in your head, But it's now all my friends live in different parts of my closest friends live in different parts of the country. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is,
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of life.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're watching, get out and network. That's the pace of my
open mic on Wednesday at White Rhino, and Thursday at Region Ale, and Sunday at Region Ale.
Not just mine. That's not the only reason we're talking about this. That is an important thing, and you should show up every single week. But no, it's important because you got to build that network. You got to gain that stage presence of playing in a new audience that you will feel uncomfortable with.
Well, and here's the best part. As a songwriter, if you just sit in your basement all the time, you're going to have nothing to write about. You have to get out and experience the world. Yeah. And that's for anyone. If you're a songwriter, if you're an instrumentalist, if you're a jazz fusion player, you have to have something that you're conveying. It's not just about notes, it's the intention behind the notes. Mm-hmm. You're feeling heartbreak, put that into the music. You're feeling happy, put that into the music. That gives the listener something that is going to invoke something in them. And I read this quote, art is the transfer of emotion. So when you're playing music, that's your life going into the other person. That's the gift we're sharing with the world.
Yeah.
And then it inspires them, to then go on and find their thing.
Yep.
Or just be happy for a minute. We all need a little of that.
We need a little bit of that every once in a while. So what's the next tune you want to do?
So I've always wanted to do a solo record. And so I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I've been sketching out these little song ideas, and it's kind of a little, not classical, not jazz. It's just a mixture of everything I do. So I'm thinking, I don't have a title for it.
JMS1.
I was trying to find
JMS1.
JMB alone, or I was thinking just me, right? JM.
Oh.
It's just, I don't know. So if you got any ideas, type it in the comments.
In the comments here. So what's this?
The comments are gonna be like, stop playing.
You need a band, dude. What's this one called?
So it's tentative title of Walking in Circles. And during the pandemic, especially in the winter, I was walking a lot, but when it gets cold out, you can't walk outside. So I was walking in the basement, literally just trying to do 10 steps, walking in circles, listening to podcasts. And I don't know, I thought that might be a good title for it.
Cool. Well, let's hear it.
All right.
So, we're just a bunch of goofballs. But, so in a real serious manner, not that this is a super serious show, but it tends to be sometimes because I like to take it there. So, two things. Joe passed Tal Farlow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, man.
As influences in terms of other players. How much of their kind of stuff did you listen to, or like?
Yeah, in college it was. I went to Indiana State for originally music theory, then switched to music business when I thought I was going to get a job. Because you can't get a job with a music theory degree.
No, you can't, because that's what I have.
You can teach. That's all you get to do. But I was so lucky. I was taking guitar lessons with Brent McPike, classical guitar. And I don't know, second week, second or third week, he says they needed a guitarist in the big band. You know, go down C105 and you're in the big band now. And it was the most frightening thing of my life because they put these, not normal sheet music, it's the big sheet music.
Yeah.
It's this big, the folder's huge, and there's every beat is a different chord. C sharp 11, flat 13, alien minor. And you got, you know, I rented a guitar like this, and it was just like, goosh. You know, as the jam band blues rock and roll kid, this is a whole different world.
Yeah.
But, you know, you instantly fall in love after hearing this music, and your life's changed forever. You can never get enough. When you fall into the jazz world, you never conquer it. The musicians are so advanced, and the concepts are so amazing, and the music is so beautiful that it's a never-ending journey. You just keep going down the line. It's not like you get to an end point. Yeah. You know, rock and roll, you master the pentatonic scale, you're done. Like, we got it, we're good. Yeah. In jazz, it never ends. You just keep going. And so my buddy Joel, who I was talking about earlier, he worked in the music library. So they had all the CDs, and we would just rate it. And it was such a crazy time of just going through and, oh, look at this album by Jocko live in New York. Like, what is this? Yeah. And just like tearing through the catalog. And so, yeah, a lot of, you know, the solo Joe Pass records. It's just like mind blowing.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever heard him, I was like, oh, okay. So he's playing like a trio of trio guitars. And then I was like, let me go on YouTube and further this investigation of who he plays with so I can get their names. Yeah. And then I see this little old Italian guy not even playing in an amp, playing through the PA speakers in an auditorium.
But playing jazz guitar. He wasn't playing classical. Guitar. He wasn't, you know, doing a different style.
It was just, it blew my mind. And he would play those bass runs with the chords on the top while still playing the melody. It just, if nobody's ever seen Joe Pass, I mean, there's plenty of solo guitar players, but the ones that I heard specifically in your playing were Tal Farlow and Joe Pass.
Yeah, and so a lot of that was accepting. I always was thinking it was going to be a singer-songwriter, just me and acoustic guitar singing and playing. Yeah. And either I'm not there yet or it's never going to be there. I don't know, but I was like, okay, what am I good at? What do I like? And how do I do that as a solo guitar player? Well, I like playing chords with melody. And so that's where a lot of these new ideas are coming from. It's just like, all right, let's make it work. It doesn't always have to be a full texture of a chord and then the melody on top. Sometimes you can just do the melody. Yep. Sometimes you can just play the chord. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, diving into your skin and trying to find new sonic ideas. And so, yeah, that's a lot of this solo idea is just going on a new path and seeing what happens.
Now, do you think, and I think that's like awesome personally, because I've always wanted to do that kind of record, but it's like almost too revealing, you know? It's like, ooh, there's nothing to hide behind.
Nope.
I don't like this.
You got to be okay with silence. Like after you play and no one claps.
Make sure you don't clap at our next show, folks. So do you think that this was always something you wanted to like kind of pursue and had the opportunity because of COVID to like work on it? Or is it really influenced because of COVID? You were like intentfully writing solo?
Probably a little bit of both. Okay. I knew I always wanted to do it. It's just finding the material that you're comfortable playing. And this kind of stuff, I think I can dive into and be confident in it. It's something different, you know, and I know there's not going to a nightclub playing this kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, it's more like it's a dinner crowd. Yeah, dinner thing or an afternoon festival kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But even if I don't ever play this as a set live, it's just something I've always wanted to do and am getting a lot of joy from it. So just to be able to put out a solo record, I think, so it's something I really want to do.
Sweet. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's like right up my alley. You know, I mean, I love all your stuff. Obviously, I have all your shirts, your CDs, stickers. I have some of your hair.
I've gone through your garbage.
Yeah, I've stolen some of your hair when you weren't looking.
That was where that voodoo curse came from.
I wondered what was going on.
Just stabbing the voodoo doll.
Joey Jojo. So this next tune is one from Both Sides, which is your
first record.
Your first record.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I ever heard this CD. I was at my old home, and I had a studio in my garage, and I was just starting to at that time I'd kind of given up on trying to make music a career, and I was like, I'm gonna get back into. I don't think I've ever told you this story before.
No.
Yeah, I was just like kind of not really sure that I wanted to do music for a little bit. Like I was like, I think I need like more stability and that sort of thing. So I was working in restaurants and doing the thing that I had done for 1,000 years before.
Oh, okay. Cooking or serving?
Managing and cooking. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, back in front of house, I did everything, inventories, all that. But I was like, we did like a gig. It was like our first time we did a gig together, and it was at this little like hotel.
Oh, and is that the Hampton?
I think it was the Hampton. Yeah. We did this little jazz duo thing, and I was like, that's what I needed, man. I needed that. Like I needed something to like inspire me, and I got the CD from you then. And I went home and listened to it right away in my studio where I was secluded by myself. And honestly, it was one of the things that inspired me. So I want to say thank you to get back into it. Yeah.
I never heard that. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the things that got me said, like, if this guy's doing it and he's making it work and he lives just right around the corner, what says that you can't do the same thing?
Anyone can do it.
So I just want to say thank you.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yep, and I remember listening to it, and I was like, he's playing with who? Who local guys is he playing with? That's insane, And it just it blew my mind. And so I remember listening to Both Sides on I had a Dell Inspiron computer at the time with like a nice little sound system in the garage. And I was just sitting out there by myself, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing these restaurants? I need to get back into what I want to do.
Man, I'm happy you did.
Me too.
Because you're a beacon of light in this community, man.
Thank you.
You do a lot, with here at Region Buzz and all the open mics and all the people you play with and help out. So thank you, man.
Yeah, well, really, it's all about mirrors, right? I have a song called Mirrors, and it's about that. It's like we all hold our own. We always look for like other inspirations, but really you just have to look yourself in the mirror. You are your own inspiration. You have to just make that conscious choice to take the step forward and to jump, as Steve Harvey says. You have to just jump.
Gotta jump.
Yep. So let's play some hyperbole.
All right. So this is, speaking of Joe Pass, like we both love gypsy jazz.
Oh yeah.
And so this isn't a gypsy jazz song, but we kind of put that spin on it. Yeah, we kind of did
our own thing on it.
And mainly just to make each other laugh.
So this one is probably going to have a lot of mistakes, and I hope you guys enjoy the mistakes.
All right, you ready? kidding.
Well, that was hyperbole. So that is a contrafact of what tune? I remember we talked about
Originally,
this before.
it's Miles Davis, Freddie the Freeloader.
Freddie the Freeloader, that's what it was.
I don't think he based that off anything.
Well, we'll never know.
That A flat chord is always weird. I don't think I've heard anything in that. So yeah, all the jazz guys would take these show tunes and then put their own melody to it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I thought I could do that with a Miles Davis tune. Sacrilegious. But I go through these phases of songwriting where it's like you're just noodling around and you're like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, wait, but that sounds like this. I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, if only we could like find a way to scientifically remove that part of the brain that says no whenever we come up with something, I think we would all write a lot more music.
I definitely.
And, maybe you don't use it all, but at least you get that initial burst out.
Yep.
And then you can go back and edit it and everything. So yeah, the hardest thing is just not saying no when you're writing something.
For sure.
Like, no, that sounds like this. Whoosh, throw it away.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple questions before we kind of close out today that I have for you. One of them is, do you have is there like a specific space that you write, or a time of day that you write, or is it just super?
I tried that during the pandemic, and I don't know. For me, inspiration is fleeting. So you have to either capture it when it happens or realize that it's not happening, and don't try. If I sit down with a blank piece of paper, I can never write a song. Like there's some kind of mental hurdle that says, okay, now you have to do something, you can't do it.
That's interesting.
But when you've got 10 minutes to go before a gig and you just pick up the guitar and it's like, all these ideas are coming, wait.
Yeah.
So it's like a faucet. It just comes dripping out and then all of a sudden the faucet's off. And you try to, luckily with the phones now, it's easy to just hit record.
That was my next question.
That's
how much has technology, because I ask everybody this, how much has technology helped or hindered your writing process?
I don't know, it hindered per se, it's just the way you use it. So a lot of times I'll get the idea like that solo one. I'm just setting up phone on video on the guitar, capture it. Now if I have like a chord thing, I'll record the chords and then go back and play the melody over that.
Okay.
I've been trying to find a way of then like being able to play like third level, like I would send the video to my laptop, set the laptop next to me, so it's like I'm playing with myself. Wah, 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 wah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of it's just recording it, and I found during the pandemic, I thought I was going to get on a schedule and everything.
Dude,
I was staying
all
up
thought
later and later and later.
Oh, I was up till like the birds were chirping, man.
And so the prime time was like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. just seemed to be where all the songs came out.
Isn't that weird?
Well, that's as musicians. That's normally when we're usually most alive, is right after a gig. We're fired up.
Yeah,
everything, all the
true.
juices are flying. So our natural instincts are 2 a.m.
Yeah,
let's conquer the world.
Gosh, we're gonna shit hits. Oh, that's hilarious. So now, obviously, we did only instrumentals. Is there any, do you ever write like lyrical tunes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 2018 or so, met a lady, and all these things just started pouring out, like positive songs, which was weird too.
You're like, that's not right.
I know, it should be sad. This isn't about the lady, this is something different. But yeah, I've got probably 15 or 20 with lyrics. Going back, I had some before, but it's just, I don't feel... Like instrumentally, I feel like I'm up here, and as a singer, I'm below the starting line. So
well, it's I always tell people when they feel that way, and I'm going to yell at you on camera because I guarantee that you probably have some great tunes. It's look at Dylan, he's not a vocal guy.
Oh, of course.
Look at Tom Waits, he's not a vocal guy. But they write killer tunes that other people end up redoing, right?
For
Leonard
sure.
Cohen,
so many people.
So it's just write, man. Write to write. Let it be.
Well, I do write. It's just
nothing you're gonna probably release. You're saying
you never know.
You should. You should.
I'm sure at some point the acoustic singer-songwriter Joe album will come out.
Yeah.
And I'll come back on and do one of these for real.
No, this was for real. This is like perfect. So make sure you go get over to where they're going to find your CD and everything.
Joe Marcinek Band's the best place to start. May 28th, the JMB4 album will be out. Spotify, Apple Music, all this streaming stuff.
But make sure you buy it from his website.
I'm going to do vinyl. I probably won't have a website. I'm just going to do it personally, so shoot me an email.
I'm shooting you an email in person right now. I want a vinyl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Joe Marcinek at gmail.com is the email, or Joe Marcinek Band at gmail. And then the Patreon is patreon.com/Joe Marcinek.
Yeah, and Marcinek is Marcinek.
Yeah. And Nick, thank you so much for having me on and doing this series.
Yeah, I'm just like I was telling Josh Andrews, we had like a really personal conversation on air with Rich from Region Media Network was there too on that session, and we were talking about the reason I put this whole show together was that. Yeah, I mean, it's really a personal thing. I just like hearing what people's writing process.
This is your podcast.
Like. Yeah, like that. But it was mostly, I wanted to know that I wanted to let people know that there is a wonderful, incredible original music in Northwest Indiana, and there's not enough space for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to put and create that space, whether it be just instrumentals or whether it be, just vocal tunes or band tunes or whatever. Yeah. There's incredible original music from here. Like someday someone's going to come here and like do some documentary about Northwest Indiana's music scene because it's thriving and there's just so much incredible music here.
That's true.
Created.
I feel like now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. So that was really what I wanted to do. I said, let me create a space. And they can take the footage from these, and download them on their spaceship in 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're heading to Mars because Elon Musk has left Earth in its filth of deserting planets. I'm gonna probably get flagged for that. Don't flag me. But at any rate, it's just I just wanted to create a space. I can't afford a venue. I can't afford to do original music 7 nights a week. But what I can do is create a show where we film it for an hour every week.
It's great, man.
And just let people do their thing. So I want to say thank you. I love you. I appreciate you.
Love you too, man.
And we're going to do a duo album. We'll see you next time. Take care.